Well, I already made this video yesterday, but it was boring as shit. So I'm gonna make it again, but a little better. So Space Engineers. It was like my most played game on Steam, and the developers provide server files for it. The server's doing about 1 million physics updates, even on a brand new empty server. So it's a little bit prone to crashing. And then later, the community came together and designed Torch. Torch is a third party application and it manages settings. You can easily add and remove mods, view your logs, run server commands, install plugins. It's pretty powerful. It's not really user friendly, not beginner friendly, but it is better than just running server files. So now on top of that, the community came together and they made another third-party plugin this time, and it's called Essentials. And this kind of gets sideloaded into Torch. And that was created to allow you to run even more powerful admin-like commands on the server. So it just expands your power as an administrator. But it turns out that building, 4 more layers of community-made malware on top of an already unstable physics-based game server, it resulted in a lot of crashes and unhappy players and really frustrated administrators. So I have what I'm calling a three-pronged attack idea here for even more layers of complexity that I could build on top of this mess to try and make it better. So the first prong, which I've already implemented, is a watchdog, and that's going to monitor Torch, which is again the program that's responsible for running the server. And it's going to try and ensure that the program is always running and that it isn't frozen or unresponsive. The second prong is a little more difficult to understand if you don't know anything about Space Engineers. The server has what it calls simulation speed. So the server runs a fixed number of simulation updates per second. So it's kind of like frames per second, but for physics. So when too many objects need physics calculations, picture, thousands of blocks colliding at speed, the server can't skip all of this. It needs to calculate everything that's going to happen in that process. And that'll cause the simulation speed to drop because it can't keep up. As the sim speed falls, the whole game kind of slows down and feels like it's moving through molasses, basically. So the goal is to keep sim speed at 1. So we want to have an automated script that can read the sim speed and then start running commands to try and boost the sim speed back up to 1 if it's lagging. And then the third prong, probably the most time consuming and the most unnecessary, but I'm kind of a nerd and I've already started implementing this. If you're an administrator on the server, you can run some basic commands like restart, save, stop, simple stuff like that. And then the Essentials plugin adds maybe like hundreds of commands that you can run. And they'll do things like stop all the grids from moving, clean up all the voxel damage in the universe, remove grids with less than a certain amount of blocks, things like that. But you can only run these commands in the game. So you could already imagine for the sim speed thing that I was just talking about, we're going to want to utilize these commands. But I also wanted to make it easier for my slower Steam friends on the server to be able to run these commands on the server while minimizing the potential for accidentally deleting maybe like the entire universe or things like that. So I was thinking, what if I make a web page that you can log into, click the buttons that just say what they do on them, and then we'll have those buttons hooked up to various server commands, right? Anybody can log into this site and start pressing buttons until the server is fixed.